Little House on the Prairie looked like the perfect slice of wholesome family television. But what if I told you the truth behind the cameras was far darker than anyone imagined?
What was it like on the set of Little House on the Prairie? The actress who played Michael Landon's wife says it wasn't as wholesome as it seemed.
The show that warmed hearts across America was hiding secrets, feuds, addictions, and scandals that would shock even the most loyal fans. On screen, Michael Landon played the wise father Charles Ingalls, but off-screen he carried a secret battle that no one expected. Landon was one of the heaviest drinkers on set. Starting his mornings with coffee spiked with liquor, he kept it going all day long. The crew even joked about 2 case days, meaning they went through 60 beers before filming wrapped. This wasn't the pioneer lifestyle audiences thought they were watching, and Landon wasn't the only one hiding a different life. His real name was Eugene Maurice Horowitz, and he was born into a Jewish family. Even though his character constantly delivered Christian lessons, Landon was navigating a totally different cultural reality. He even admitted he didn't subscribe to any organized religion, but simply believed in God. To make things more Hollywood, he dyed his hair religiously to maintain that signature curly brunette look. The problem was, the stage lights often revealed a purple tint that drove the producers crazy and forced emergency color fixes. While Landon's personal choices were kept under wraps, it was his love life that shattered trust on set. When he divorced his wife to pursue a relationship with a much younger makeup artist, Cindy Clerico, his young co-star, Melissa Gilbert, felt betrayed. Melissa had seen Landon as a true father figure after losing her own dad, and when he left his family, she cut ties completely. Their relationship was broken for years. But Landon wasn't the only story. On-set drama stretched across the cast. Friendships were made, feuds exploded, and romances went from sweet to scandalous in an instant. And some of the most surprising rivalries were happening between the kids themselves. Melissa Gilbert and Alison Arngrim played bitter enemies on the show Laura versus Nellie. But behind the scenes, the two were inseparable. They had sleepovers, pranked other cast members, and laughed together like sisters. Their friendship was so strong that even today, fans are shocked they were able to fake such hatred for the cameras. But not every young star got along. Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson, who played Mary, could not stand each other. Their feud became so intense that no one on set wanted to get caught in the middle. The icy relationship dragged on for the entire run of the show, and even decades later, the two never reconciled. The set of Little House might have looked like Walnut Grove, but it was really a battleground of hidden secrets, feuds, and fractured relationships. And the younger cast members weren't just dealing with rivalries, they were also pushed into uncomfortable situations that still haunt them today. But what happened when a 15-year-old actress had to film her first kiss with a man nearly 10 years older? That's where the real controversy begins. When Melissa Gilbert was just 15 years old, she faced one of the most difficult moments of her young career. She had to film her very first on-screen kiss with Dean Butler, who was already 23 years old. The age gap made her feel deeply uncomfortable, especially because it was also her first kiss in real life. Unsure of how to handle the situation, she turned to the one person she trusted most, Michael Landon. To his credit, Landon stepped in as a protective father figure. He convinced the producers to tone down the scene. Instead of a full romantic kiss, it was changed to a quick peck on the cheek. For Melissa, this was a huge relief, but it didn't stop others from turning her innocence into a running joke. Alison Arngrim and Steve Tracy, who played Nellie and Percival, decided to have some fun at her expense. They exaggerated their makeout scenes and even staged passionate kisses just to tease her. Melissa admitted she was mortified, but Alison insisted it was all in good fun. The twist: Steve Tracy was actually gay in real life, so the entire act was nothing more than a prank to rattle their younger co-star. While romance created awkward tension, alcohol and partying created something much darker. The Little House crew was notorious for drinking heavily. Reports say they downed 2 cases of beer daily, sometimes even more. And Michael Landon's spiked coffee was just the beginning. Cast members openly admitted that substances were a regular part of life behind the wholesome pioneer set. But while chaos ruled behind the cameras, the show itself was taking risks that no other family drama dared to touch. Little House on the Prairie wasn't afraid to dive into taboo topics. Episodes confronted racism, addiction, prejudice, and even assault, all during a time when most shows avoided controversy. For many fans, these storylines gave the series a sense of honesty, even if they clashed with the supposed innocence of frontier life. And still, the greatest shock came at the very end. Despite being a massive success, the show ended with a controversial finale. Michael Landon himself made the call to bring the story of Walnut Grove to a close, and what happened in the final season left fans stunned. But before we talk about the explosive ending and Michael Landon's tragic death, there are still a few unbelievable behind-the-scenes stories you need to hear, including bloopers. So wild, they completely broke the illusion of pioneer life. As the years went on, Michael Landon became more than just a star. He was the director, producer, and creative mind behind nearly every episode. He wrote the pilot, helped shape the finale, and directed over 90 episodes. But by the 9th season, NBC retitled the show Little House: A New Beginning and shifted the focus to Laura as the lead. The changes didn't stick. Ratings fell, and Landon knew it was time to end the story. The final episode was as shocking as it was. Symbolic Walnut Grove was literally blown up in the finale. Fans were stunned watching the town they loved reduced to rubble. Some saw it as a dramatic farewell. Others speculated it was Landon's way of making sure no one else could ever revive his vision of Little House. Not long after the series wrapped, tragedy struck Michael Landon. In 1991, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away within months at only 54 years old. Cast members remembered him as both a father figure and a notorious prankster. He left a complicated legacy, a man loved for his humor, but haunted by his addictions and personal choices. And while the show tackled heavy themes, it wasn't without its share of hilarious mistakes. One infamous blooper showed Laura pregnant for more than a year thanks to a timeline error. Another featured Colonel Sanders himself, making a cameo in a town set in the 1800s, even though Kentucky Fried Chicken wasn't founded until the 1950s. And in one dramatic scene, a dummy was thrown from a moving train, clearly visible to anyone watching. Even the kids got in on the fun. During breaks, Melissa Gilbert and the Greenbush twins loved catching frogs and hiding them on set. Michael Landon himself would prank the cast constantly, including the infamous toilet saran wrap trick. For all the drama behind the scenes, there were moments of laughter that reminded everyone why the show connected with so many people. In the end, Little House on the Prairie was never as innocent as it seemed. It was a mixture of family warmth, bitter feuds, heavy drinking, awkward romances, heartbreaking betrayals, and unforgettable pranks. Yet that messy reality is what made the series timeless. It wasn't perfect, and neither were the people who created it. So the question is, should we remember Little House for its heartwarming pioneer lessons, or for the scandalous secrets that were buried behind the cameras? Either way, its legacy remains as complicated as the people who brought Walnut Grove to life. Part 4. As filming went on, the production was not only dealing with weather delays, but also the challenge of working with so many children on set. Julie Andrews, who played Maria, often stepped in almost like a real-life governess, making sure the young actors felt comfortable and confident. Off-camera, she built a bond with them that lasted for decades. Many of the children later said that Julie was like a second mother to them. The filming inside the grand halls of Salzburg's palaces was breathtaking but complicated. Lighting crews had to be extremely careful to preserve centuries-old architecture. At the same time, the production had to transform these historic spaces into believable rooms for the Von Trapp family. Every chandelier, every rug, every detail had to look authentic to Austria in the late 1930s. And while the film looks polished and perfect on screen behind the scenes, it was anything but calm. Technical malfunctions, constant travel, and the sheer pressure of adapting a beloved stage musical into a motion picture often left the cast and crew exhausted. But the magic was undeniable. Each day they knew they were making something that could outlive them all. One of the most unforgettable sequences to shoot was the famous Do-Re-Mi montage. Filmed across multiple Austrian landmarks, it required careful choreography and timing. The children had to remember their lines, their movements, and their placements, while camera crews followed them through open fields, staircases, and carriage rides. It took days of retakes, but in the end, it became one of the most iconic moments in musical history. Even with these challenges, Julie Andrews brought unmatched energy to the set. She often used humor to lighten the mood. Crew members recall her doing playful impressions to make the children laugh during long hours of filming. That warmth translated into every frame of the movie and is one of the reasons audiences connected with her so deeply. When production wrapped, there was a sense of both relief and sadness. The cast had become a real family, and saying goodbye was emotional. Few could have predicted just how massive the film's impact would be. From its premiere in 1965, The Sound of Music swept audiences away, becoming a worldwide cultural phenomenon. But the story did not end there. Decades later, the film still airs on television during holidays, sells out sing-along screenings, and inspires new generations. It continues to raise questions about why this one movie resonated so powerfully across cultures and time. Was it the music, the performances, or the underlying message of hope against tyranny? What is clear is that The Sound of Music is more than just a movie. It is a legacy. A film that captured not just the hills of Austria, but the hearts of millions around the globe. And even today, it reminds us all that courage, family, and love can overcome even the darkest moments of history. But as audiences look back decades later, they see something even more striking about The Sound of Music. It was not only a musical, it was a statement about hope, resistance, and the human spirit. The Von Trapp story reminded people that even in the darkest times, courage and love can prevail. The way the film blended humor, romance, music, and political tension gave it a depth most musicals did not have. That is why even today viewers say it feels fresh, powerful, and timeless. The movie also helped redefine what Hollywood could be at the time. Big studios were struggling with the rise of television, but The Sound of Music proved that when done right, the cinema experience could not be replaced. Families lined up outside theaters for hours just to hear those famous opening notes and see Julie Andrews twirl on the mountaintop. For many young people, it was their first introduction to the idea that a movie could be more than entertainment. It could be an experience, and the legacy goes even further. Schools around the world still stage productions of The Sound of Music. Choirs sing Do Re Mi at competitions. Children grow up learning the lyrics before they even understand the history behind the story. And every holiday season, TV channels air the movie to new generations. Few films have ever managed to capture that kind of cultural staying power. It is as though The Sound of Music became more than a movie. It became a tradition. Behind the scenes, the cast has often reflected on what the experience meant to them.